Welcome to a video series on SPSS for Sociology 299. When you first go to open up SPSS, which is available in all the computer labs on campus, it'll bring up this screen right here, which is kind of, I tend to just ignore it. It's supposed to make it faster for you to kind of get into various things, but I usually just close. It won't do you any good to say don't show this dialog in the future because you're on the computer labs and it sort of refreshes those kind of settings every time the computer is shut down. All right, I'm going to expand this a little bit to fill the full space of my screen recording here to make it a little bit easier for you to see what's going on. There we go. SPSS looks like a spreadsheet when you first open it up, but it isn't a spreadsheet, and as you'll see in class, there are some very distinct differences between a spreadsheet like Excel or Google Sheets and SPSS. What we're doing here is we're essentially viewing our data. We can see what kind of data that we have. We have none in this file, but this is the data editor window. In the data editor window, we can look at the data, or we can look at information about each of the variables that is present in the data set. In social statistics, we tend to refer to our columns as variables and our rows as cases. In databases, these are often considered fields and objects, or fields and cases, things like that. But we're going to refer to these as variables, cases. This data set, as you can see, is completely empty. And that's fine because we can open up data or we can enter data either way. I tend to suggest that people enter their data in a different piece of software, such as Excel, and then bring it into SPSS, just because data entry is a little bit faster. The movement from field to field is faster in something like SPSS than it is in Excel. Faster in Excel than it is in something like SPSS. Plus, reorganizing things, moving your columns around and stuff is easier in Excel than it is in SPSS. Not that it really matters that much how your data is ordered here or how your cases are ordered here, because that's something you manipulate through your analyses in SPSS, as opposed to in Excel where it is where it is. All right, so I'm just going to explain a couple of very basic things. We're not even going to have data up in this particular video. SPSS has multiple file types. We are in a data file at the moment. So if I was going to go File, Save All Data, it would save a data file. But there are other types of windows related to different types of files in SPSS. So if I wanted a new syntax window, which we probably won't use much at all this semester, but that's where you carry out your various activities in SPSS using SPSS syntax or code rather than the pull-down menus. The one you're going to see a lot more often is the output menu. So as we do our various analyses or producing graphs or transforming our data or whatever it is we're going to do, it creates output, and that is a separate file from the data. This is a really important thing to remember, that you always need to save all the files you're working on, not just your current data set. And in fact, it's a good data management practice in SPSS to have a core data set once it's prepared that you don't save over later, that you save a new copy of as you do additional transformations as part of your analysis, so that if you do mess something up, you can always go back to that original data file. I'm going to open up a piece of data right now, and that is about as far as we're going to get in this particular video, is how to open data. When you go to open data, it works pretty much just like every single thing else that you're going to find. I'm going to open up this data set called the GSS08, and I'm looking for .sav files. Now, SPSS can open other types of files, and to do so, you come to the Files of Type, and it'll show you what you can open, which includes Excel, comma-separated text files, straight text files, SAS files, Stata, so if you happen to have taken a political science class and use Stata and have a file for that. This is all very important when you go to find data for research projects. Sometimes it's not available in SPSS format. I'm opening up a .sav file, so it's right there and ready for me, and I just click open. So opening data in SPSS is really straightforward. That's all I had to do. As you can see, we now have two windows going on here, our data window and our output window. Output windows always more or less log what it is you're doing. Remember I mentioned syntax and syntax windows? This is not a syntax window, but it is telling us the syntax or the code of what we just accomplished. Get file, the path to the file, and what the data set is named in the internal memory of SPSS, which it just temporarily names it dataset 1, even though our file is named that. So that is opening data in SPSS. In our next video, we'll talk about viewing our variables and understanding how to save our data and our output.